What's up, nerds? Welcome back to Nerd Valley, where we talk about all things Elder Scrolls and Fallout. In today's video, we're going to be going over what exactly make the Stealth Archer the best build in the entire Elder Scrolls series. Now, I grew up mostly in the Skyrim era, so that probably makes it pretty obvious as to why I might say this, but I think it is just as true for the other game. And by that, I obviously mean the other two majorly successful modern mainline games. I'll even go as far as to say that when it comes specifically to archery, Bethesda is my personal favorite and the standard that I set most other RPGs to. Now, most of you probably think it's crazy to hold Bethesda as the standard for any mechanics, which I'll agree with, especially when it comes to melee. Like, you're not going to catch me trying to argue that it has better physical combat mechanics than a game like The Witcher, God of War, Dark Souls, but when it comes to archery, is that what you think of when you think of any of these games? Hell no, don't even try to lie to me. I mean, the concept of a sneaky marksman is now almost synonymous with Skyrim. I know lots of other games use bows, and I'm certain that many of you like playing that way in those games. But when it comes to most RPGs, I feel like archery suffers from a long list of things. The main ones being either that they aren't focused on as much as melee and magic, so they feel super choppy, they are overdone with realism, and so they're the hardest weapon to grasp in the game, or on the opposite end of that same exact scale, they are oversimplified to the point of just feeling like a sword with range and less damage. However, with Elder Scrolls, you have just enough control of your character that when combined with their pretty simple combat mechanics, it makes the feeling of being an archer just perfect. I mean, truthfully, I don't think any other RPG game quite captures that FPS sniper feeling as an archer. You can combine that with perks and enchantments or just how you can mix and match your character in the game, and I truthfully do feel that it is the best version of the archer archetype in all of gaming. But I'm done comparing Elder Scrolls Archery to everyone else. Now I want to get into why I think it is just the best playstyle in its own games. For starters, if you compare it to Mage and Warrior classes, it has the stealth aspect, which can be majorly helpful in combat when it comes to not getting attacked and landing stronger attacks. Now, most people are probably thinking that a dagger is way better in that field with how much sneak attack damage it can get, especially in Skyrim. But the damage on daggers is the lowest in the games, whereas bows can be the highest, so I feel like it really balances out. To put it into perspective, a hunting bow in Skyrim does 7 damage, whereas a steel arrow does 10. That's a total of 17 on hit, which is the same as a greatsword. But if you don't like Skyrim, as many of you have made abundantly clear, let's look at Oblivion. Hatred Soul has a damage of 24, combine that with its 20 damage arrows, and that's a max of 44, whereas Umbra has 28, which is the real reason I made this part of the video, to reinstate how overhyped I think that weapon is. That shit gets glazed more than the apple fritters in regular show, which is like at least twice. However, aside from damage, bows have a couple more bonuses. First and foremost, obviously, being range. They are two-handed weapons that can hit at a distance of like over 200 feet. This gives you an opportunity to prepare before engaging with an enemy. Congratulations, by the way. Or if you're skilled enough, it allows you to just sit back and pick enemies off without ever getting close to them. Plus, again, they're the only two-handed weapons that get a stealth bonus. You might ask, is triple that much better than double? But let me ask you, if you had $20, would you rather I gave you 60 or 40? Exactly. Also, it's better for roleplay reasons. No one else gets to imagine that they're hitting someone with 2 greatswords or 6 war axes or 15 daggers, but me? I'm Robin Hood. I'm shooting them with 3 arrows. But even moving on from damage, just getting around is so much more fun and realistic to how people actually play these games. I'm just not convinced these are the ways that a mage or a warrior would operate. I mean, jumping everywhere, scaling buildings and mountains, and speaking of mountains, no one takes the roads to travel in Bethesda games. Now you might ask where a bow fits into that, but it just makes it that much better. Imagine this for me. You sneak into a city, you scale up the buildings all the way to the top of the tallest one, you take out your bow, draw it back, snipe your chosen target, scale back down the rooftops over the city wall, and no one even knew you were there. Then add on the fact that so many enchantments and spells in the games can play so heavily into being a thief character. I mean, you've got things like open, invisibility, telekinesis, levitate, but most importantly, chameleon. If you can get that up to 100, you've pretty much won the game. I'm serious, because on account of not being able to find you, no enemies will attack you, and you will get constant sneak attacks as long as you're crouched. If you want even more, try getting your acrobatics up and going to the arena. Jump yourself all the way up to one of those pillars and just shoot down on enemies. There is an endless amount of things you can do as an archer within these games. In Skyrim though, sure, none of that is around. I mean, acrobatics, chameleon, any of the other spells I mentioned, they're all gone, except for telekinesis, but it's different. Let me open boxes from a distance again, Bethesda. I don't give a shit how cool it looks. But there are all the archery and sneak perks that help very much in fulfilling that experience, and in some cases even surpassing it. Some major standouts for archery include things like Eagle Eye, Steady Aim, Ranger, and Bullseye, which is pretty much just a paralysis enchantment that is innately added to all bows. Steady Aim is legit just slow time whenever you use the Eagle Eye effect, so also sick as fuck. Sneak, on the other hand, is more helpful as a damage multiplier, so obviously the main perk is going to be Deadly Aim, but things like Silent Roll, Silence, and Shadow Warrior can all majorly help with moving around a hostile area. All this stuff comes together to create a playstyle that became one of the biggest memes in all of gaming, and specifically for the fact that everyone just defaults to it. And it did that without all the extra shit I mentioned that the other previous games had. So imagine if Elder Scrolls 6 were to add some of that stuff back while staying true to the gameplay they have now. It would be perfect. I mean, I don't even know what else to say about it. That's just what it would be. With all that said though, people, I think we've finally answered what it is that makes the stealth archer build in the Elder Scrolls games so peak, which is that with Bethesda's style of simplistic mechanics combined with massive player character control, it gives this build the right amount of realism combined with a lot of campiness that it just works. And again, I feel like I can't stress enough how impressive I find it that without chameleon or acrobatics or any of the stuff from the early games, Skyrim was able to provide one of the most fun versions of this playstyle. It makes me hopeful that if Elder Scrolls 6 is everything we want it to be, then we might get to see a revival of the every character is a stealth archer meme, which is really the best part about this. That's all I've got to say about it though, guys. Let me know how many times you've played a stealth archer in an Elder Scrolls game down in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, later nerds.